Welcome to Wager Talk TV. I am Kelly Stewart, and this is Wager Talk's last call. We only have 5 weeks until football season, guys, 35 days, and we're going to suffer through this beautiful Saturday morning together talking about soccer. Yeah, Carmine's coming in hot with Leagues Cup, Women's World Cup. Then we got Adam Trigger bringing in some KBO and some MLB, followed by Bryan Leonard. Make sure you guys jump in the comments section, get involved in the conversation. Have a question for one of our handicappers. They are here to answer it. And you guys are stuck with me, and I never host this show. So we're going to have a good time. We're going to drink some breakfast drinks. And no, this is not alcohol. Everybody calm down. This is Celsius to help us get through this next painful 35 days until college football season starts. Let's bring him in. Mr. Carmine Bianco. I was just talking to him a little bit off air. He gave me a nice little prop bet on Sophia Smith from the U.S. women's team in the World Cup. And so far, she is the leader. She got 2 goals for us last night. So, Carmine, so far, how has your World Cup been?
Because it's hosted in New Zealand and Australia are absolutely terrible for us guys on the East Coast. I was up at 3 a.m. this morning watching the first game. And so I've been up for 8 hours already. And it's still a long day to go because there's a ton of games tonight. And then we do it all over again at 1 a.m. tomorrow morning. I've got to watch the games, Cal. If you have action on them, I have to watch them. So that's the way I am. I can't just wake up and look for a result. I need to see what is going on because it also shapes what you're going to do when these teams play in their second and third games throughout the tournament.
I would agree. In tournament style play is different than just like a one-off, like I'm mad that my team's down on Monday Night Football and I'm going to bed early. The East Coast is great for a lot of things. Sports viewing, depending on if you're a night owl or not, is tough, especially when the World Cup is being hosted in Auckland, New Zealand. So thank you, Carmine, for your service. We appreciate you staying up all night, dedicating yourself to this. But let's start off with the League Cup. And I didn't even know the Leagues Cup was a thing until I saw your notes this morning. That shows you how much I don't know about soccer. And the reason why I don't need to know that much is because of you. You are so kind to share all of your plays with me. So let's talk about this Leagues Cup. We've got Philadelphia and Club Tijuana.
Yeah, and in the League Cup, this is the first year. It's the inaugural tournament. All the Mexican club teams from Liga MX and then all the MLS teams in the US and Canada. And it's like a World Cup format. So for the next 30 days, they will play in groups of 3, and then it becomes a bracket style tournament after that, knockout stages right to the final. So there's plenty of action, and it kicked off last night. And what a way for it to kick off! Lionel Messi, who David Beckham and Inter Miami brought over to the U.S. to play for the team. He came on for the last 35 minutes of that game. And of course, with the game tied 1-1, the final kick of the game, and he curves it into the top corner of the net and they win 2-1. Everyone was there. Kim Kardashian, Serena Williams, LeBron James, they were all there watching that game. It was quite the star-studded event. But it's Saturday now, and we've got games to talk about. And this is the Philadelphia one. Philadelphia is minus 136. Club Tijuana is plus 372. The draw's at plus 285. This tournament has a really different format. All books still grade on 90 minutes plus any injury time, and there's normally like 5 to 6 minutes of injury time. But if the game is tied, normally in the World Cup in a tournament, if the game is tied, it's just a point each because it's not the knockout stages. In this competition, they go straight to penalties. And if you win the game in regulation time, you get 3 points. Losing team gets 0. If you win the game in penalty kicks, which, like I said, comes right after the game ends, if it ends in a draw, and the winning team gets 2 points and the losing team gets 1. So it's a completely different type of format. But looking at this game, there are a lot of very good Mexican sides in this tournament, but there are some that I just think are play against ones, and Club Tijuana is one that I think is a play against side. They didn't have a good. The Mexican soccer seasons are sort of broken down into 2: the Clausura and the Apertura, and they finished. I think it was 3-7-7 this past season, and they're off to a 1-1-1 start not doing very well. Philadelphia, on the other hand, is climbing up the ladder. They were the finalists in last year's MLS Cup, and they're having a very good season, a very good one at home. 8-2-1, only one loss at home, 23-7 goal differential. And this is such a good buy low price on them at 136. The line should probably be higher and probably could go higher by game time, as people love to wait till game day to bet. I think Philadelphia is the play here at 136. I think they get the job done at home. They're the favorites to win this group. So it stands to reason they're going to win their games at home. And I think it starts off with a win tonight against Club Tijuana.
All right, a buy low spot for Carmine Bianco. Speaking of a buy low, right now we have a great buy over at WagerTalk. Carmine has a double tournament package up. That is Women's World Cup plus Leagues Cup, $199, and you get his NHL $199 coupon. So Carmine, if you'd like to elaborate on that for anyone, you're welcome to do so. Exciting stuff headed over at WagerTalk.com for Carmine.
Yeah, literally with both tournaments starting just this past week, Thursday and Friday, there are a ton of plays, a ton of future bets, and if you have this package, because I'm up in the middle of the night watching these games or early morning, I am putting in halftime wagers on some of the games which have, I think, have some positive EV numbers to them. So if you're part of this package, you get those. The minute I load them, you get the notification right away. And if you're actually watching the games, you can get some second half action in as well too. There's a ton of plays, $199, and you get a coupon for $199 towards the NHL season. And I finished number 1 in the NHL this past season, so I'm looking forward to replicating that this coming year as well too.
Yeah, I love that. This is what I mean, guys. I don't need to handicap NHL or soccer because I have Carmine. That's the best thing about being at Wager Talk. Women's World Cup, Carmine, let's talk about it. You mentioned that you've been up since 3 a.m. watching these games. This one goes off in what, this evening?
Yeah, it literally goes off at on the West Coast, it will be 10 a.m. On the East Coast, it is 1 a.m. in the morning. So 10 p.m. West Coast, 1 a.m. my time. So it's going to be a very long day for me. But this is one in which Sweden is playing South Africa. A lot of these South African, a lot of the African teams in this tournament are likely going to be bigger underdogs. And we saw one this morning as well too, losing to Japan 5-0. And this is one where Sweden are decided favorites. So you can't actually bet the money line because no one wants to bet a minus 1,600 line, Kelly. You know that. But there are other bets that you can find within a game. And while the handicap on this game is Sweden minus 2.5, minus 110, I think the better option is to lay just a little more juice and takes the Sweden team total, which is also 2.5, but it's at minus 140. The thought process here is this, is that Sweden are going to need 3 goals to cover either one of them. But with the handicap, if you lay the 2.5 and they hit 3, you still have to sweat the opposition not scoring a goal in this game. The game could finish 3-1 and you lose the handicap bet, but you cash on the team total. So it's one of those few times where I would say, because I usually have this with the juice, I'm risk averse. I don't want to actually take or lay a ton of juice. This is one of those ones where you can lay 30 cents more, and I think it's the better option here. So the Sweden team total, they're a very dynamic team, a very good offensive team, and they're one of the tournament favorites. I think they come in at 4th or 5th in the pre-tournament odds to win this, behind the USA, England, Spain, and Germany. So they're right up there. They're going to score goals, and I think they come out of the gates in this one, and that team total is the right bet.
Carmine, I'd be lying to you if I said I was going to stay up and watch this one. This is going to be a wake up and cash a ticket. You're right with the risk adverse. 140, 145 is probably my threshold, so I will join you on that Sweden team total over 2.5 minus 140. Carmine at Carmine Bianco on Twitter. Carmine, anything else before we let you go? Oh, I do have a question in the comment section. I apologize, guys.
Awesome.
Let's see. Vegas Gianni, Inter Miami are the worst team in the MLS. How much will Messi being on the squad change their odds we see per game on them? Ooh, great question.
Well, here's the thing is I was on Wager Talk today and I talked about this game and I said the odds are just going to continue to drop on Miami in that game against Cruz Azul. They went from 170 to 150 to 120 and then they were even money at one point and then closed at about 110, plus 110 on that game. They are going to get better because they're getting and their odds are going to reflect it. It's not only Lionel Messi, Sergio Busquets also played yesterday. He's someone who has played the most with Lionel Messi than any other player, going back to the Barcelona days. And then Jordi Alba, another Barcelona guy, is coming to play as well too. They're getting back another midfielder as well too, who is injured. So they've got players coming back. They still are a little weak defensively, but they are getting better. They're going to make a run to try and get into the playoffs. They're 12 points out, but unfortunately, they're going to make you pay a premium on these games. And by premium, I mean they're last place in the MLS. They should be plus 150, 160 every game, and it's the Messi effect. People are going to bet it just because it's Lionel Messi, and you're getting the worst of the number, I believe. So I think if the line is supposed to be 160 and it's minus 140 instead, I wouldn't bet it because you're not getting the right number. So regardless of who is on that field, if you're not getting the right number, you shouldn't be betting it.
I agree with that, Carmen, but what would you say Messi's worth? 20 cents, 30 cents to the betting line?
If you looked at yesterday's game in 35 minutes of play, he was probably worth a good 40 cents, maybe 50 cents. He justified the movement. Had he played the whole game, and he wasn't ready to play, 6-7 weeks off on vacation since the European season finished and his last game with Paris Saint-Germain. So he was only ever going to play a half of football. It was always going to be the second half because you don't want to play him in the first half and then take him off and have the fans sort of, booing. So he was only going to play half the game. He'll probably play a lot more in their next couple of games, but he's definitely worth about 40 to 50 cents. You could see it in the game, and having Busquets there with him, their play off the ball was fantastic. So it's a matter of him teaching the forwards, listen, when I've got the ball, find an open space and I will get it to you. His vision is unbelievable. It's he's the world's best.
I love it. Thank you, Carmine, at Carmine Bianco WT on Twitter. Make sure you guys are giving him a follow. Also, make sure to head over to Wager Talk. Get Carmine's soccer package up $199 right now, and you also get a $199 NHL coupon. Adam Trigger is going to be joining us. Make sure you guys jump in the comments section if you have a question for any of our handicappers. Adam, welcome in. Let's talk some KBO.
All right, Kel. I love when you ask me to talk KBO, by the way. I know how much you enjoy hearing me talk about it. So let's give the people a client play. This basically, so just to start off, like this was the play that I had yesterday that got rained out. But in this league, it doesn't always mean that you just come right back the next day. There's a lot of moving parts. And so I guess I want to just kind of break this down and also explain why I'm still on it on Sunday. Because, not much has changed from the handicap, and we're not relying on tired bullpens and stuff like that. So it's the Kia Tigers. Unfortunately, we're going to have to pay an extra 10 cents here because the books reposted this at the line that we beat, essentially. So instead of minus 115, we're looking at minus 125, but I'm fine with that. So on Doosan, the Doosan Bears side, they're gonna throw a young kid by the name of Guak Dean, who's been fantastic this year. He's kind of been one of the breakout young starters in the league. He's won 5 straight starts. Biggest difference from last year to this year is he's figured out how to not walk as many guys. Last year, he'd come out, have really good stuff, and then he'd walk 7 guys in a start, and you couldn't really trust him. This year, he's been much better. However, I feel like he might be building toward a potential bad start. 5-game win streak for him. But in 29 pitches in those last 5 starts, he's walked 17 batters, and he just hasn't paid for it yet. he's regularly throwing over 100 pitches per start, yet he's only getting to like the 5th or 6th inning. So not economical at all. And they just had their All-Star break, which means he was in a little bit of a rhythm, and now he's had to kind of sit around for 10 days. And now he's got to sit an extra day because they got rained out last night. So I think that could negatively affect him here. On the other side, Kia has a guy by the name of Thomas Pannone. He was on the team last year. They went out and got him halfway through the year last year. He came back to the States this year. He was crushing AAA. Kel, as you know, I watch a lot of AAA baseball. He was killing it for the AAA Nashville Sound in the Brewers organization. He got called up, made like one appearance for the Brewers, and then kind of negotiated his release to go back over to Korea because Kia decided to part ways with one of their import starters to make a spot for him. So he gets back. He makes a start before the All-Star break that wasn't that great, but also kind of a whirlwind for him trying to get over there and get, ready to make a start. He's now had a week to kind of get acclimated, get settled in. It won't take him time to get acclimated there because he was there last year. And again, at Nashville, he had a 1.08 whip and he was throwing the ball really good. And he pitched great in this league last year in 14 starts, 2.72 ERA, 1.14 whip. He was one of the better starters in KBO last season when he came over. So I like Kia's advantage from the starting pitching perspective. And now Kia statistically is the best bullpen in this league. So the fact that both bullpens are rested, I would give the edge to Kia, who in my opinion has better high leverage relief guys than Doosan. You give me Kia's like top 3 relievers, put them up against Doosan's top 3 relievers if we're in a close game. I'm going to take the Kia relievers all day long. And also, Kia's still undervalued. They were missing 2 guys for the majority of the first half, Sungbum Na and Do Young Kim. Both guys that hit in the top 4 in their lineup. Sungbum Na is a legend in this league. I mean, he's one of the best players of the past decade in this league. So, I mean, and they were without them the majority of the first half. So Kia, big play on team for me in the second half. Even at minus 125, I still love this play. It was minus 115 yesterday, but I really like Pannone and Kia here. Doosan's on a 10-game win streak, but 9 of those occurred prior to the All-Star break. So I think they're a little overvalued. Kia Tigers minus 125 is a 4% client play for me.
Yeah, Adam just handed me my first loss of the day. Producer Joe and Eric in the comments section saying, how long before Adam breaks down this KBO game? I said 3.5 minutes, and Adam was 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So thank you, Adam. I almost cut you off, but then they would have said collusion. Great breakdown by you. All jokes aside, we love to give Adam a ration of grief because, well, he's one of the best handicappers at WagerTalk, and we like to keep him humble every once in a while, right? Like just got to crack the whip. If you guys have seen the Hustle show, I like to pick on Adam. He's like the little brother that I never wanted. Adam, speaking of AAA baseball, are you going to start sharing those, or are you going to just keep them to ourselves? Adam shared a lot of NBA Summer League with me, which was wonderful. And then he got a ration of hate, if you will, from one of the originators on the internet. So maybe you guys will be lucky enough that he will share some AAA baseball sharp plays with you guys. Can't get a lot down, about $100 a place, but we'll take it because they have been cashing those tickets.
Yeah, and the other thing, Kel, is I kind of handicap the AAA games, and then I just look at so here's the thing with the AAA baseball. It's hard to give out because they move so quickly. Like even if I sort of tweeted one out, it would probably move the line, and it is far harder to get down on them than like NBA Summer League was being offered by like every book. Like for the most part, you could get down on NBA Summer League. AAA baseball is a lot tougher to find books that'll take bets on it. So it's kind of why I'll tweet one every once in a while. Those are my plays though. Like the ones I tweet out and whatnot are usually, I've done a little bit handicapping on those. It's just, they're really hard to share. I'll try to do it every once in a while, but again, it's like for whatever reason,
I'm just going to cut you off there. Just make sure you and I get down first, and then you can share with the rest of the world. All right, we've got questions coming in for you, so I got to cut you off there. First, I want you to break down St. Louis at Chicago, the Cubs, not the White Sox. Cardinals just a slight favorite. Looks like pretty much 118, 119 on the WagerTalk odds screen. Break down this game for me, and you've got about 90 seconds because I want to be able to answer the questions for our lovely audience.
Kel, I actually have less of a breakdown here, but it is a 4% client play, so I'll go real quick for you. If you watch WagerTalk programming, you know I'm high on the Cardinals. You know I've been talking about this team since the beginning of the year, have been getting the hate mail for it because they haven't had a great season, but they're coming around a little bit. They had a 6-game win streak snapped going into yesterday. Tough game for them. They had to face Justin Steele. He had his good stuff. They lost 4-3. But still, last 7 games outscoring their opponents 44-26. I still think the Cardinals have the potential to have the best second half of any team in this NL Central. And they've already started that, obviously, a 6-game win streak pretty much out of the gate. And then one tough loss yesterday. They're having a great second half. And here, Miles Michaelis is someone I've looked to play on. I cashed a 4%er with him last time he was on the mound. Quality start against the Marlins, 6 innings, 3 runs, and he's not walking guys anymore. So he had a really tough stretch. But you look at his last 3 starts. There's that win over the Marlins. He had a rain-shortened start against the Nationals where he had 3 shutout innings, and then he had to leave the game because of a rain delay. The one before that was 7 shutout innings against the White Sox, 6 strikeouts, no walks. So he's someone that's pitching extremely well. He's managed to work around like the one big mistake that had really kind of plagued him for about a month and a half. So I like him here against the Cubs, who are going to go with sort of a bullpen game. Michael Fulmer is going to start this game. It looks like he pitched yesterday and he pitched 2 days ago. So you're looking at like an opener type situation, probably an inning or two. And it's going to be the Cubs with their middling bullpen. They kind of rate out sort of like very average from a bullpen standpoint. And the Cardinals have seen all of these guys, right? Like these teams have played a ton. They've seen every Cubs reliever this season. And this is an offense that I'll back any day of the week, especially when guys like Nolan Arenado are hitting the ball like he is. I like the Cardinals offense, and I think that they'll do some damage against whoever the Cubs decide to trot out here after Fulmer. So minus 118, Mikolas is on the uptick. I'm still all in on the Cardinals. I might not win the division or get them to the playoffs, but I still think I'm going to make a bunch of money backing this team in the second half while they're still undervalued. So Cardinals minus 118, 4% client play. I think they bounce back with a win here today.
All right, we've got 2 questions from the chat box. But first, don't forget, you can get all of Adam's plays through the rest of July for just $99 over at WagerTalk.com. Let's go with Neil. Hi, Adam. Looks like a little recency bias. James Paxton, DraftKings, has his outs prop over under 15.5. Minus 120 for the over and minus 110 for the under. Wait a minute. Before we get there, is this pretty standard to lay 30 cents on a prop bet? I mean, a 30-cent line?
Yeah,
anyway,
some of those markets are split like that.
Okay. I don't ever check the prop bets. I'm not the prop queen, Ariel Epstein, so I wouldn't know, but I saw that for a second and it kind of tripped me up. Neil is leaning towards the over 15.5 outs for James Paxton. He wants to know what you think.
So I rarely have an opinion on props, but the one thing I'll say about this one is the Red Sox and the Mets are going to finish a game prior to this game. So, if they use a bunch of like key bullpen arms in that sort of, because that game's only in the 4th inning. So it got suspended in the 4th last night. I believe it's 4-3 Mets right now. The Red Sox are going to need to piece together presumably going to need to piece together 5 innings. And if it's a close game, they may end up using some high leverage bullpen guys. So that tells me that they're probably going to need Paxton to give them length here, even if he doesn't have his best stuff. So I don't hate the over there at all, because even if he's not cruising, they're really going to need him to like give them innings in the second game of this game, because they basically have a doubleheader here. So I don't hate that. I think that you're probably good there with Paxton, as long as he's not getting slammed or his pitch count doesn't get run up like insane early on. I think you probably hit the over.
All right, we got some more questions in the chat. Just a reminder, guys, we saw Bryan Leonard coming up next. He's got 2 MLB plays he's going to break down for you guys, so please jump in the comment section for him. Adam, we have a final question for you. Vegas DJ and Trig, how do you play teams that are going to sell in the second half of the season? Trade deadline is right around the corner.
Vegas DJ, I usually try to bet on these teams, believe it or not, because here's why. When teams sell at the deadline, they get priced as if they're complete trash. And that's not really the case. Like, just because a team decides like, hey, this might not be our year, we might not make the playoffs, does not mean they're going to just give up or be considerably worse. And I've actually found that sometimes it means they sort of band together and play hard, because they get rid of everyone that's still left as young guys trying to make a case to be on the team next year. So what ends up happening often is those teams, you get great prices on the +1.5 line because they get kind of treated as teams that have no chance, when in reality, it's not the case. It's just a team that is going to be going in, they're going to have a lot of young guys. They're going to see who they want there and who they don't. And they're going to give guys a chance. And so those teams tend to be pretty good bets because you're almost always going to get value with them. So I like to look at the teams that are, kind of get rid of some of their veteran players, some of the guys that they're tied into contracts with. And if I like the what they're bringing up from the AAA level or what they get back in return, oftentimes like guys that are sort of ready to play at the big league level that maybe haven't gotten a chance yet, I'll often try to sort of come in with those teams. And usually against the +1.5, you get the free run with the team that's more competitive than the market thinks, and you can cash some tickets there. So that's kind of how I treat that scenario.
Awesome. Get the rest of Adam's picks for July, just $8 a day at Top Flight SI on Twitter. Adam, thank you for joining. Today, let's bring in Bryan Leonard. And I think Bryan must have gotten a little word that I was hosting this morning because he picked 2 pretty sizable underdogs to give out for you guys. And I love to see it. Bryan, how you been, buddy? I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
I agree. I was getting to think that you didn't do shows that anybody has any gray hair on their face because you're always doing these shows with all the young handicappers. It's great to see it. Great to have you back. And let's see if we get the clients some winners today.
I love that. This is going to be awesome. Bryan, let's talk. Oh, here's a good one. Let's start off with the team that I grew up kind of cheering for, if you will. Colorado Rockies +145 playing the Marlins. And being down here in Florida now, I've had kind of a little bit of a pulse on some of these Florida teams. And the Marlins have kind of been on a roller coaster ride as of late. Rockies, we know how they are in Colorado, but on the road haven't fared as well. Break this one down for me.
Yeah, interesting game because normally I'm not looking to play Colorado on the road. In fact, a lot of people will talk about the road Rockies. That's something that you want to set up against if you're playing fantasy baseball. Your pitchers against the Rockies, but hey, they were good enough to win yesterday on the road against Braxton Garrett, a guy who's been pretty hot all season long, has really made a name for himself, and now they get to take on Johnny Cueto coming off the IL. So if they can beat Garrett, hey, you got to think they're a live underdog here against Cueto. Don't know how long Cueto's going to go in this game. Johnny Cueto's a guy who's been on the IL pretty much the entire season. Pitched 4 innings so far this year, and he wasn't good in them. So they're going to use him as an innings eater. We'll see how that goes for today. Chase Anderson enters play with a 6.26 ERA, 1.50 whip, terrible numbers. But his advanced stats come out about a run better per game. He's not good, but he's been a bit unlucky so far this season. With Johnny Cueto out there, as I mentioned, he has not pitched much this year, so I don't know how long he's going to go. And take a look at this Rockies team. They're not a good team, but this Marlins team is on a horrendous run right now. They were over a $2 favorite yesterday with Braxton Garrett going, and they still lost. They were never in that game. It was 6-1 in no time. So anytime I can get a team at this price range as an underdog, playing a team that's really struggling right now, you got to think that's got to be a bargain. So I'm going to take Colorado plus the number here against Miami. And even though the Colorado starter has not been good, he's run into some bad luck so far this season.
I would have to agree with that. And you mentioned teams that have just in the second half of the season started to really flounder. Man, Tampa Bay, what is going on up there? Next one, make sure you guys jump in the comment section if you have a question for Bryan, but let's break down this Baltimore +155 at the Rays.
Yeah, you're one of the few people in the United States can actually say Tampa Bay, the team up there, because you live in more of a southern city in Florida. But yeah, I'll be honest. They played 2 games so far in this series. I've been on the wrong side of both of them. It's been a tough series for me, but I'm going to go back right at them. There's a lot of guys that if they lose on a team, they won't come back on them. I'm not that way. I'm not superstitious in that regard. So hopefully we get ourselves the winner. 1 out of 3 is not good, but it's better. It's a lot better than 0 3. So let's get the winner today in this one. But the Valley's clearly on the road team, if you ask me, in this one. Baltimore has hit lefties very well this year with a 112 WRC+. They rank 6th in baseball. Grayson Rodriguez is one of the best young pitching prospects in the league. Yet he comes into this game with a 7.33 ERA, 1.75 WHIP. But if you take a closer look at his advanced stats, the ones that I do, the ones that most of the guys who handicap baseball any longer do, he's got an xFIP of 388 and a Sierra of 4.16. Not great, but much better than the efforts the actual numbers come out on. So we get a little bit of value playing on a guy here who's better than what his numbers are. This Rodriguez is a guy I'm looking to bet on, and we're getting him at this price range. I think if you bet Rodriguez the rest of the year, you'll make some good money, and you're probably not going to see him in this price range the rest of the year. So I think there's some value here. Shane McClanahan's an elite starting pitcher, no doubt about it. But, if you take a look at his Stuff Plus rating, it's at 110. Rodriguez is a 112. That shows you what Rodriguez can be. And if you're getting him in this price range, that's something to take a look at. McClanahan's numbers have been excellent this season with a WHIP of 1.13, ERA at 2.56. He's done nothing wrong. But as opposed to Rodriguez, his advanced stats show he's been very fortunate. A 3.82 xFIP and a 4.06 Sierra. So we've got two guys, their numbers have shown that they should be regressing towards the Baltimore side in this one. To me, the line's just simply too high. Baltimore's played so much better over the last month than Tampa is here. McClanahan's a great pitcher, no doubt about it. There's a reason why that line is high on him. But this Baltimore team is playing the much better baseball, and you're getting them at a really nice price here. I think it's an underdog day in Major League Baseball.
I love those underdog days. I need them every day, Brian. I'm addicted to the plus money. Brian, you can get all of Brian's plays for the rest of July for just $99 right now. Currently, since the start of MLB season, Brian is the number 2 baseball handicapper, but he always has been. I mean, I've known Brian for probably 12 or 13 years now, and it just seems like every single year he makes money betting baseball, and you guys wonder why I don't spend the time trying to learn how to handicap it, because I got guys like Brian helping me out. Let's jump in. We got 2 questions, in the chat box. How are we feeling about the Orioles, Brian? They're coming out swinging and might not be done with trades. Do you see them as a bet-on team, I'm guessing, going forward?
I do. If you've watched the Orioles, they've got a lot of good guys coming out of the minor leagues. They've had like 3 or 4 guys join the team so far this year. They've actually got like 2 more that are right on the fringe, ready to go to the major league level. Ryan Mountcastle has been their best player over the years. He can't even get in the lineup right now. So they've got some guys that are ready to be traded out. Yeah, they're a team that's going to be a buyer right now. Baltimore, when you've been as bad as they had been for such a long time, you get a lot of good draft picks, and they have those right now. So Baltimore's a team you can make money on the rest of the year, and they're going to try to improve themselves.
I love that. One last question before we let you go. And this one's about football season, because as I mentioned, just 35 days away. And, well, football season is like year-round now, which is kind of very good point, Cody. Question, now that football season is 52 weeks a year, can you be profitable only betting it?
Yeah, you can. And there's guys, I grew up in Cleveland, went to school with Phil Steele, a friend of mine. He's done a pretty good job of that going over the last 50 years. He's done a real nice job. Brad Powers is another guy who basically just does football, and he's great at it. If you could specialize in a certain sport, that's the way to go. Carmine does soccer, he does hockey. Baseball and hockey are my 2 best sports. So if you can limit the amount of sports you're handicapping, obviously you should be doing better in those sports. So yeah, in fact, if you're young and you're just getting into this, I would recommend not only just looking at certain sports, but I would look at certain conferences. If you're a guy who plays college football and you're living, Ohio, play the MAC, play the Big Ten. You'll have more information than most other guys will in that. So if you don't need a lot of action, those are the sports and those are the ways that you can make money. You can really build your bankroll in that regard.
No. Yeah, Brian, you absolutely nailed it. I get a lot of grief because I don't follow a lot of the smaller conferences, but I have friends that do, and that's the beauty. You can share your information. I've spent a lot of time really honing in on those Power 5 conferences, as do most people. But you're right. There is a ton of money to be made in places like the MAC, especially if you are geographically inclined to get some of that nice little information that maybe other people are not privy to. At B Leonard Sports over on Twitter. Make sure you guys are giving Brian a follow. Again, again, you can get all of Brian's plays through the end of July, just $99 right now. He's currently number 2 on the Wager Talk leaderboard in MLB. Thank you to Brian. And Brian, we'll see you in Vegas in a little less than a month. Got Teddy's Barbecue. We're going to be at Stadium Swim. We got a golf tournament going on at the Las Vegas Country Club with the guys from Superbook. So it's going to be an awesome Wager Talk meet and greet weekend. Thank you, Brian. And thank you to all of you guys for hanging out with us on this beautiful Saturday. 35 days until football season. We're so close. Make sure you guys have liked and subscribed to the Wager Talk YouTube channel so you guys do not miss out on any of the preseason previews, any of the above to get you ready for football season. I'm Kelly Stewart. We'll see you next week.